All right. Today we are talking about box and whisker plots, measures of dispersion, and stem and leaf plots. Okay? So on page 53 is going to be this goldenrod color paper and these blue papers. Okay? You're going to title, so go ahead and open up your notebooks at page 43. You should be right beside the pink with the cumulative frequency curves. And you're going to title it box and whisker plots. And make sure you get down your goal for this particular page. We're going to create, graph, and interpret information from box and whisker plots. So box and whisker plots contain 5 pieces of information. It contains your lowest value, your lower quartile, your median, your upper quartile, and your highest value. That is what makes up your box and whisker plot. These 5 pieces of information. Okay? And with these 5 pieces of information, there's your box and whisker plot. Your whiskers are your lowest value, aka your minimum, your largest value, aka your maximum. That's what makes up the end of your box and whisker. So those are your whiskers. And then the box part of your box and whisker contains your lower quartile, aka Q1, which is that formula n plus 1 over 4, which we know from the other day. Our median, n plus 1 over 2. That's the part in the middle. And then Q3, our upper quartile, which is the formula again, 3, n plus 1 all over 4. These are the pieces that make up your box and whisker. So all the information that we found, like when we were doing cumulative frequency curves, it does translate over into a box and whisker. Why? Because if you haven't noticed, histograms, cumulative frequency curves, box and whiskers, they are all visual ways to represent your data. Okay? With the data that you collected, you are soon going to draw your own cumulative frequency curve. You're going to draw a box and whisker plot as well, and then you're going to compare your histogram that you've already drawn to the other 3 to see if there's any relationship between the 3. Maybe depending on how your histogram is maybe skewed to the left or skewed to the right or symmetrical has an effect on what your box is going to look like in your box and whisker. Or how your cumulative frequency curve, maybe it's going to increase really steeply, or maybe it's going to be a little bit flatter. All of those things, they tie into each other. Okay? So, with your box, going back to your box and whisker, okay? Each piece of information basically splits your data up into quarters. Okay? 25% of your data is going to lie in between your minimum value and your Q1. 25% of your data is going to lie in between your Q1 and your median. And so on. 25% between your median and your upper quartile, and so forth. 25% between your upper quartile and your maximum. So the box and whisker divides your data up into quarters. All right? Now your IQR, that formula, your interquartile range. What's that formula? Q3 minus Q1. So this right here represents your interquartile range. It makes up your middle 50%. Your middle 50% of your data lies in between those 2 values. Okay? So that's how it all ties in together with the information that we talked about the other day. So far, so good? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some examples. Now, I tried to make this foldable so that way when you actually folded it, like the diagram, if there was one, went along with the question, but I couldn't quite figure it out. Couldn't get the printer to work with it, so you're just going to have to kind of work with this to the best that you can. First example is the one that has the number of people frequency table, the one talking about a yacht club host. So it's on this one. All right? So you want to fold it in. These go together. Everybody see the question with the table? Good stuff. It says the yacht club hosts an annual race. The number of people in each yacht are recorded in the table below. Okay, we got our number of people. We got our frequency. It asks us to find the median number of people in the yacht, the upper and lower quartiles, and then we're going to draw the box and whisker to represent this information. Okay? So, median number of people. What's the formula that we need to find our median? N plus 1 divided by 2. What's n in this problem? 99. So this is n. 99 plus 1 divided by 2? 50. Okay? Now, this is not our median. It tells us the 50th piece of data is our median. Okay? Now, we have our frequency table. It's all lined up in order. 1, so 4 people only had one yacht only had 4 people in it. Okay? 8 yachts had 5 people in it. 16 yachts had 6 people in it, so on and so forth. What's 1 plus 8? 9. What's 9 plus 16? 25. What's 25 plus 25? 50. What am I doing here? By adding these up, I'm finding the what? I'm finding the cumulative frequency. So basically, my 50th piece of data is going to lie right here. So if I were to actually write out all these numbers and I were to go, back and forth doing the old school with 99 pieces of data, do not do that. But if I were, the middle number would be 7, and that would be my median. That is how you use the formula to figure out in a frequency table that value. Okay? Now let's find my upper and lower quartiles. Upper, Q3. We know the formula is 3n plus 1 over 4. What is going to be that number once we type everything in? $75. So 75 represents where my Q3 is going to lie within my data. So I need to keep going. What's 50 plus 28? 78. Doesn't the 75th term lie between 50 and 78? Mm-hmm. So then my upper quartile is going to be 8. Because, again, if I were to lay this all out and I were to try to figure out, okay, what is my 75th piece of data? It would be the 8, that number 8.
Is it because it's closer to 78?
Well, it's because basically my data points, my 51st, my 52nd, my 53rd, my 54th, all the way up to my 78th piece of data, they're all 8s. And so the 75th piece of data is an 8. So that's why it's 8. Does everyone understand that? Mm-hmm. Lower quartile. Q1. The formula n plus 1 over 4. What's 100 divided by 4? Where does the 25th piece of data lie? It's 6. Right there. Value 6. So we have all our information. Are there any questions up to here? Yes. Because when we plug in 99 for n, 99 plus 1 is 100, divided by 4 is 25. And so then we're basically looking for our 25th piece of data. Since our cumulative frequency is at 25 here, that means the last 6, if we were to line them up in order, would be the 25th piece of data. And that's our lower quartile. Oh, 9 plus 16. So whenever you're doing your cumulative frequency curves, you take the last cumulative frequency entry, you add it to the next frequency, and that's how we got 25. We're good? What are the last 2 pieces of data that we're missing from our box and whisker? Max and min. What's our minimum? It's 4. And our maximum is 10. All your answers for medians, means, modes, quartiles, maxes and mins is always going to pertain to that X value, what we're talking about in the problem. We're talking about the number of people that are on these 99 yachts. So all of our answers are going to come from this particular column. Okay? So now we're going to draw a box and whisker. Does everybody have this information now? Okay, I'm going to clear this off so I don't have to go into the blue to do this. Okay? Now, if you are out of space, you might want to kind of place this blue sheet of paper, so if you want to draw it somewhere else, then you can, but, you know, like I said, it's only if you're out of space. Whenever you're drawing a box and whiskers, you do need a horizontal line to represent your x-axis, just like you would need for a histogram or a cumulative frequency curve. And you need to label it. What are we going to label that horizontal, aka x-axis? The number of people, just like we would label the x-axis of a histogram or the x-axis of a cumulative frequency curve. Okay? Gonna go ahead and make my little axes. I only need up to 10. So I need my 2 whiskers. My whiskers contain my minimum and maximum values. What was my minimum again? 4. So I'm going to put a little slash for my min, and then I need another one for my max, which was where? Now I need my box. What was my lower quartile? It was 6. What was my median? 7. What was my upper quartile? 8. And these create my box. Last thing I need to do is connect the whiskers with the box, and then there is my box and whisker plot. So the box and whisker plot represents the ages of teachers at my school high. Write down the age of the youngest teacher. I'm going to let you guys do that. Write down the age of the youngest teacher. Then write down the median age. Both of these pieces of information can be found on that box and whisker. The next question says, if 25% of the teachers are older than X, write down the value of X. 25% of the teachers are older than X, write down the value of X. And then the last one, find the interquartile range of the ages. Again, I know this picture wasn't the best one. Luckily enough for me, I don't have to make a photocopy to then cut it out to attach it to your notes to make another photocopy when it comes down to your test. It just comes straight from the question bank, and then it gets printed, and so it's nice and clean. You'll be able to see all the lines and everything like that. But write down the age of the youngest teacher represents the what? The minimum, which is what? 22. It is 22. That is where the minimum line was for that whisker. Then it says write down the median age. You're looking for that line that is where? Of your box, which is? That was at 44. If you couldn't see it, again, I do apologize, but like the ones on your homework, for example, nice and clean. Okay? Now it says that 25% of the teachers are older than X. Write down the value of X. Now, real quick, it says if 25% of the teachers are older than X, remember, the box and whisker splits everything up into 25s and 25%. This was another write down, but it says if 25% of the teachers are older than a value, where is 25% of your data? What 25% of the data are they referring to?
Lower quartile, then that would be 75% of teachers are older than X. Because if you look at the box and whiskers, if if you look at the lower quartile, you still have the whole rest of that to go. So that's 75% left. If you go to the upper quartile, you have just that ending whisker or whatever you want to call it left, being 25%.
Okay, so yes, he is right. It would represent this particular value to answer C, because again, from Q3 forward only represents 25% of your data. But if you pick Q1, that is still all of this data that's older than that particular value, not 25. So what's your Q3? 53. And all these were write down problems, so you're pulling the information straight from your graph. Now you have to find the interquartile ranges, which means you need what two values?
Upper and lower.
Upper and lower, and you need to do what to them? So since we already know Q3 is 53, what's Q1? 31.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How'd you get 31?
This was Q1. And again, I know like the box wasn't the best, but that is at 31.
But 53 is where the right is where the second box ends, and then 31 is where it starts.
Correct.
Okay.
Your middle 50%. So what's 53 minus 31?
22.
So that's your interquartile range. Good stuff?
Those are also the age of the teacher.
Okay. And it's also the age of 25, the lower 25%. Go to your other blue foldable. You have a cumulative frequency graph that is shown to you. We're going to write down all of this information and then draw a box and whisker. I want you guys to do this one on your own because this incorporates what we did on Tuesday. So I want to see how well you guys did on that information. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do this. So you have to write down the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile. So again, the formula, n plus 1 over 2 to find the median. You get 100.5, which means you need to go to 100.5, which is basically right at 100. Go over, drop down a perpendicular. And yes, the scale's a little bit more open, okay? So you should have had something around 145.
Yeah.
Definitely something in between 140 and 150. Yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So for the sake of this video, it's going to be not 146, 145. Okay? The lower quartile. Different color. Q1. We know the formula is n plus 1 all over 4, which is 50.25. So we're basically going to 50, which is halfway, and we're seeing where it hits. About 140. Okay? It should have definitely been somewhere close to 140. So if you said like 139, 141, that would be good. And like I said, with something like this, look at how open that grid is. Okay, it's not on centimeter paper, so it's not like hit it right on 145 or unless it falls on the line, that's the only time we're actually going to know is exactly 140. Okay, so this is where they'll say plus or minus 5 or plus or minus 10 depending on the grid. Upper quartile.
We can say
Okay.
that in our answer.
Huh?
We can say that in our answer.
No. You'll write down.
The mark scheme says.
The mark scheme will say, okay, if their number falls in between the number that's supposed to be this, then they're good. All right, Q3. We know that it's 3 times n plus 1 all over 4, which is 50. 0.75. Okay, I just want to make sure I heard you right. So I'm going to go to 150, basically. Go over, hits my curve. Oh, that's not straight. Because I'm not using my little tool to help me out. 150, 155. I probably would have said 155 as well. And you put it so it should definitely fall between 150 and 160. Yes. Good stuff. So now that we have all this information, it tells us the lightest wrestler is 125, aka the men, and the heaviest weighs 188, the max. Okay. So even if the median is wrong, or the lower quartile's wrong, or the upper quartile's wrong, your box and whisker that you draw for this needs to be based off of your information. Does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
So our box and whisker, I need an x-axis. I'm going to label it weight. Don't forget about your labels, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make my scale exactly how it was done on the cumulative frequency curve. Okay? I mean, just to make it a little simpler. What's my min? 125. What's my max? 188. What is my Q1? 140. What's my median? 155.
Oh, I mean, sorry, the median's
145.
the max.
And the Q3 is 155. And so then I connect to make my box, add in my whiskers, and there it is. I try to make it different colors so everybody can see where all the pieces of information was. Okay?
So I use 191, so 201
In this particular one, you have to construct a cumulative frequency table and draw one. Find the median, find the upper and lower, draw your box and whisker, okay? I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to do this while I continue to check the rest. Let me know if you have any questions. Let's see, construct a cumulative frequency table. We also got to make a box and whisker, so I need to give myself enough room to do all this. Box and whisker, frequency table. Okay, I'm just going to do it over here. I need my upper boundaries and then my cumulative frequencies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, different color. So that's kind of hard to see. All right, what is my cumulative frequency column? Read it out. 4, 10, 21, 43, 48, and 50. Remember, because the table shows the heights of 50 kangaroos, your last value in your cumulative frequency curve should be 50. Again, we get those values by basically taking 4 plus 6 to get 10, 10 plus 11 to get 21, 21 plus 22 to get 43, and so on and so forth. What were my upper boundaries? 210. Because since the upper boundary of the first class and the lower boundary of the second class are the same, it's just that value. That's why also when I asked you guys to do your group frequency tables for your data, if you use the whole number, you won't have to worry about the midpoint later on. It would be that value. And it'll be a whole number on top of that. Okay? This one should have been 2, 20, 2, and then it just continues up after that, correct? So there's your table. This is what you had to plot on your cumulative frequency axis. So this is what you basically had to do for your homework the other day, okay? I am going to put a little break here because I'm not starting at 0. I am going to start at 210, and I'm going to skip 2s to make this work. You don't have to skip 2s. I'm just skipping 2s, again, just to make it look a little nicer, a little spaced out. And what am I labeling my x-axis with? Heights. Not just on my cumulative frequency, but also on my box and whisker. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for my box and whisker. I'm going to do the same thing. 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260. Going back to my cumulative frequency curve that I'm about to draw. How'd y'all label it? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Yes,
I think that's what I did.
By 10, skipping 2 boxes, every 2 boxes is a 10.
Okay, so 10, 20, 30, 40, cool, 50. Awesome. All right. So 210, I'm at 4. I'm going to use black to alternate between these colors. I'm at 4. 220, I'm at 10. 230, I'm at 21. 240, I'm at 43. When I tell you that my cumulative frequency curves on my homework, beautiful. Because I can actually like write down and control my hand, you know. The second I touch the screen, dot. So, what movie is that from? Okay, So, now realize that your cumulative frequency curve cannot just be floating in air. It does need to hit the x-axis. So where is it going to hit the x-axis? What is the lower limit of my first class going to be? 200. Following the same pattern. So 200 would have been at 0. So I'm just going to do as smooth of a curve as I can to connect those points. And there's my cumulative frequency curve. Whew, run this out. The median. Change colors. Should have been 51 divided by 2. 25.5. Gonna go to 25.5. See where it hits my curve. Drop down a perpendicular. For me, my median is at 230. Give or take yours because, again, look at the scale that we're using. Look at the grid that we're using. Lower quartile and the upper quartile. That would have been 51 divided by 4.
12.75.
Gonna go to 12, which is definitely floating. 220. Upper, 3 times 51 divided by 4.
38.25.
Really close to 40. 237. I'm thinking I'll do the same.
Yeah.
237. Bless you, bless you. The smallest kangaroo is 205. The tallest kangaroo is 258. So okay. So 205, 258, 220, 230, 237.
What's 258 in feet?
Outside my head, no, because I don't know conversion.